What is up, God Gamers? You clicked on the video, you know what we're doing here. And what we have on screen right now is the tier list from last patch that I made, and I just wanted to show how it's going to differ here. So this is the base form, but let's get started and let's move some of them away so we can get these cleared out. But this is where I had them last week. I feel decent about these placements, but we'll see. We'll see how a lot of these are going to change this week. A bunch of good quality of life changes happen to a lot of these legends. And so just to give us our starting point, let's go ahead and let's do Ornn, because Ornn is going to be our S tier. And he might be our only S tier. I think there's a lot of good legends to play on this patch that are going to fill out the A's and B tiers. But Ornn is so good because, one, his 2-1 augment is decent. It's solid. No matter what tier it is, it's fine. It's pretty good, right? Especially if you have an item opener, you have some direction, and you can use that to further your direction. But really what's really strong is Ornn's 3-2 augment, because it gives you gold and you can get a completed item or a completed Ornn item. And that is just so powerful to have, or it's a completed item and a component item a lot of the time, and the gold. What is so powerful about that is, especially if early game, if you slam tank items, or if you're lacking your crucial carry items, like if you have like a Rage Blade and you're trying to play Aphelios, which is probably the best 4-cost build on this patch, then you can go into 3-2, you can break open the item anvil, and you can get your Infinity Edge, your Death Blade, your Giant Slayer, that sort of thing. So it's just a very easy way, especially when you're in a winning position, to still get your items. And so that's why I play Ornn, and I think Ornn is so good on this patch. But next up, let's talk about some of the combat Andes. And the combat Andes are Veigar, Master Yi, and Vlad. And you notice I didn't move these because they're going to just occupy the A tier here. The combat augments are really good on this patch. Master Yi is super good. Pumping up is great with comps like Shurima, comps like Aphelios, comps like Zeri, all super meta compositions. And so those are great. And then the same thing with Vlad. Vlad is great with all those compositions I just mentioned as well, because comps like Aphelios needs a lot of HP, needs stall, that sort of thing. And then if you end up hitting vertical Shurimas, which is a good comp if you hit the full vertical, or if you're playing around Akshan, same idea. You can use the HP, Shurima scales off HP. And so a lot of stuff is good with Vlad. And Veigar, there's a lot of good AP comps, and I think his augments are solid. I think he's kind of like he's like B+. I still think he's the worst of the three, but also is good. Things like Jeweled Lotus, especially if you want to play around AP, if you want to be like an AP one trick, like it's super good. So he's going to go right there, and we're good to go. Next up is, let's just do the River King. I think the River King is fine. He's just way overshadowed by his big bro, Ezreal. And so Tom Pinch is going to go squarely into the B tier. I think he's fine, just not as good as Ezreal, and that's just what like the tango we're going to have between those two legends, both of the Econ and E1s. And let's do Ezreal next. I'm going to put Ezreal up into the A tier. He's like an A+ tier, though. He's almost into the S tier here, but not quite. I wouldn't quite put him up there with Ornn, with Big Daddy up here. Big Daddy is just too strong. But the Ezreal strat right now is you can do the full Dragon King strat where you go fast 9, all the good stuff. Less people are tempoing around level 6, so you can actually get away with going to level 9 a little bit easier, because a lot of people are tempoing on level 7. A lot of people are going to 7, rolling down for their 4-cost comp, and like contesting Sejuani's and that sort of thing. So you can actually get away a little bit easier playing the Dragon King strat on this patch opposed to last patch, where everyone was spiking on stage 3 on their reroll comps. A lot less people are rerolling on this patch, even though reroll is still pretty viable. Also, the gold tier augment so that's like the full Dragon King strat. But the gold tier augment on 2-1, the one where you lose, you gain extra XP. Every round you gain 2 XP, but if you lose, you gain 3, that sort of thing. I forget what it's called, but you know what I'm talking about. That augment seems very strong. I see a lot of people just take that, and they can also use that to get an early level 7 to contest those contested units like Sejuani, Shin, Taric. I can test the frontline units that pretty much everyone runs in their comps right now. So a lot of people use it for that, and that can be very strong as well. And he honestly, I think he's like A+ tier. So I'm going to put him right here for A+, because I think he is pretty strong. All right, let's talk about Ezreal. Ezreal has a weird spot right now. Honestly, I don't ever see anyone play Ezreal. I know some Chinese players like to play Ezreal. He probably goes into the B tier. I was going to put him down here in the C tier because honestly, I just never see him. I don't think his 2-1 augment is that amazing. Buried Treasures. I think you're better off just playing Ornn for the same reason. Like if you want extra items, like I just think you're better off playing Ornn. But I do like Ezreal's 3-2 augment. I don't like his 4-1 augment, but I like his 3-2 augment. It's pretty decent. It gives you gold, gives you items, it gives you a remover, sometimes gives you a duplicator on the prismatic. So I think it's a solid choice because of that 3-2. And I do see some people do like buried treasures. There's some Chinese players that like it. So I'm going to put him up in the B tier, but I just think he's a poor man's Ornn right now, honestly. Pingu. Pingu is pretty solid. Honestly, probably goes into the B+ tier. I really like Pingu's prismatic on 2-1. Really safe guy right here. I don't like any of his augments past 2-1, honestly. But on 2-1, he seems pretty strong, so we're going to put him right here. All right, our girl Caitlyn. Caitlyn, guys, if you're in low elo and you want some free low, Caitlyn is very strong because you can get a free early game every single game. Her 2-1 on silver helps you get direction. Her 2-1 gold is really good. Stars Are Born because it gives you 6 gold now. You can have a strong early game and hit your econ thresholds. I was playing a lot of Caitlyn at the beginning of the patch, but I'm just so much better at playing Ornn. So I stopped playing her. I was having trouble climbing playing her, but I really think you could definitely make it work. Her prismatic got buffed as well. You get a free 4-cost 2-star, so it gives you free direction. I think it can work in high elo, but maybe I'm just not the guy to do it. But in low elo, like, guys, dude, if you're in low elo, this is the freest early game of your life, man. As I said, you can make a strong board and hit your econ thresholds. It's kind of crazy. The only downside of playing Caitlyn, the reason why I don't think she's as good in high elo, is because sometimes it forces you into playing a certain build, especially if you take the prismatic tier. Like, let's say you get a Nasus out of your prismatic drop on which the prismatic is, you get a free 4-cost on at the start of each stage, 2-1, 3-1, and 4-1. Like, let's say you get a Nasus drop and like you don't get a Shurima emblem, and then you have to play 5 Shurima. 5 Shurima is just not that good in high elo right now, unless you're like have a Giga Auction, like you hit Auction 3. Like it's just really not that great. And then Shurima really spikes on 7 is where it's strong. But in low elo, like meta doesn't matter as much, so like that's why I think she's like the low elo Punisher, but can work in high elo. I'm just not the one to make it work. I'm gonna put her in the B+ tier because of how strong she is in lower elos. And let's do our boy TF. Our boy TF, man, I do not think forcing is going on this patch, and man, they need to do something to TF, dude. Honestly, I really think they just need to put Pandora's items on. I think they need to buff it and then put it on 3-2. I just like, man, I don't know. TF's in a tough spot. I know some players still really like TF, but I do not think hard forcing is good on this patch. And I think TF is really good on patches where hard forcing is good. And I don't think he's good. So I'm gonna put him all the way down the D tier, man. Like I don't see anybody run this shit. Nobody. And again, like if you're out there hard forcing a build and you're having fun with TF, don't let me take that away from you. But I don't think hard forcing is that good on this patch, and I don't see anybody taking this shit. Like, man, he is just not good. Like, why play him when like why get perfect items when you can just get Ornn items? Like that's what doesn't make sense to me. Like you can have extra items and they're Ornn items. Like, like I just think Ornn is way better. Yeah. Anyways, I always think these item ones like Ornn, Ezreal, and TF, I always kind of like group them together. I know some people don't like doing that, but to me they're in the same club. But they give you items and direction, and TF is the worst at that right now. So, all right, let's talk about Urf. Urf is pretty good. My boy Beppo Carrot, he likes to play Urf, and I think like Urf can give you like free direction. Like you start the game with some Noxians, right? And you're just like, oh shit, okay, I'll pop these. I'm definitely going to get Noxian or Juggernaut or something like that, and then like that can give you free direction. I think Urf was really good. I'm gonna put Urf all the way into the A++ tier, not quite in the S tier. I can't bring myself to put anything next to the Big Daddy Ornn right here. I just think Ornn's 3-2 augment is just so insane, and his 2-1 augment is solid, and his 4-2 augment is also solid. Ornn is just a beast, dude. So we're gonna put him there. All right, next up is Lee Sin. I started to consider Lee Sin quite a lot more favorably on in recent patches and recent days. I used to not like this guy a lot, but he's going to go squarely into the B tier. I do think the refresh one, why can I never remember what it's called? I don't know why. It's been in the game for a billion years, but the one where you get free refreshes every round, that one is great. I always just say Refresh Galaxy. The Refresh Galaxy is great. I really like that one. I think he's pretty solid. And then on a roll, you can obviously take if you want to force like KO or something like that, which I don't think is that good. But, I think Lee Sin is pretty solid. All right, Draven. Draven got a small buff on this patch. I don't see anyone playing Draven, man. Draven either goes in the C or D tier probably. Maybe there's some tech out there. Like, the problem with Draven is, like, you take him, and then you just can't take his augments if you don't have a strong early game. If you have a really strong early game and you want to punish the weak, a lot of people are playing weak early games right now to get fast 7. Like, you can get some rewards off of his Spoils of War. But, like, the problem with Draven is, like, yeah, you have to have a strong early game. And if you don't, you just can't take his augment. So, but I think you could rock Draven. I think you could rock Draven, and you just don't take his augment unless you have the strong early game. Like, so if you're like playing Draven, so I'm gonna put him up in the C tier. I do think he has a spot to take his augments. Like, I think it makes sense sometimes. And I don't really like his 3-2 or 4-1 augments right now. All right, Brad. Brad got a big buff at the beginning of the patch. And he was probably A tier. I thought he was a little overrated when everyone was playing him, but he was very strong, and he would definitely on that patch go into like the A+ tier, almost up in the S tier. I honestly, I think he was a little overrated still, but he's gonna go into the B tier. All of his 2-1 augments are pretty solid. They are pretty solid, and I think that's what's important for Brad. So if you want to play Brad, you want to get the free anvils. I think anvils can be really nice. Same idea with Ornn. Like, once you start getting those anvils or those item components. Once you start scaling up, it can give you free direction, which I think is really good about Bard, but I think it's just fine. I'd rather play Ornn. Again, I would just rather play Ornn. And then I think his silver tier, Caretaker's Ally, where you get the free 2 costs, can be strong. There are a lot of viable reroll 2 cost builds, and you can use it for tempo. I think it can be strong, but I think people haven't really min-maxed it and figured it out quite yet. And I don't think reroll is super meta, but it is viable on this patch. So that's why Bard is going to go up here. And then Poro, our Poro King. Poro is great. We're going to put Poro in the S tier. He's going to be the only other one in the S tier. So if you guys like playing Poro, I think playing Flex is really good on this patch. The reroll comps that are viable, they're viable when you hit their augments. Like, Noxus is obviously super great. Noxus is honestly like low-key hard forceable if you're not contested. But also, like, if you take Poro, you get the Noxian augment, you get the Warwick augment, you get the, I think you can do some reroll Swain tech, you get Double Trouble, you can reroll Talia. Like their reroll comps are viable, but they're really strong if you can get the augment, the unique augment for those builds. And Poro is the easiest way to get that. Also, just there's a lot of standard strong augments in the game, like social distancing, long distance pals, that sort of thing. So I think Poro is very strong because the base augments in the game are very strong. I do think Ornn is still better because the reason why I like Ornn so much better than Poro, and I thought about taking Poro recently because of, I've been doing some reroll tech and that sort of thing, but the thing that always makes me not want to take Poro is Ornn is guaranteed to give you solid augments on 2-1 and 4-2, and then always there's a very good augment on 3-2, which I think is a very crucial point in the game, especially you get that instant gold injection. That's really nice. You can go fast 7, contest for those units. A lot of units are contested, especially the frontline units, and especially if you're trying to play a lot of Aphelios. Aphelios is very contested on this patch, so I think that's why I think Ornn is the best. But anyways, this is a tier list. What do you guys think? What have you guys been winning with? Put it in your comments. But that's pretty much it for me today. Good luck climbing. I've been having a good time playing this patch. Gonna try to hit Challenger this patch. I'm Grandmaster right now. I'm right on the Grandmaster demotion. I'm like 323 LP. I need like 400 LP to hit Challenger. Gonna try to hit it this patch. We'll see if I can. If not, we'll hit it eventually this set, hopefully. But anyways, appreciate y'all. I love you all, and I love TFT.